Slideshow bearing. This interactive operating manual is concerned about ball mill supported by slideshow bearings at both inlet and outlet. Construction of slideshow elements in a slideshow bearing consists of two water-cooled barbited slideshow which supported the slide ring of the mill. The slideshow bearing is lubricated by means of oil supplied from HLPC type lubrication station. The bearing nearest the drive station of the mill is designed as fixed bearing, retaining the mill in the axial direction. In fixed bearing, the slideshow at lifting side of the mill is fixed. This slideshow restricts the axial movement of the mill. Inlet end of the mill is supported by movable bearing. When the mill shell is subjected to heating and cooling, the movable bearing is capable of observing the longitudinal change of about 1 mm per meter of mill length. Operation principle of slideshow bearing. Prior to the startup of mill, each slideshow is fed with oil from a high pressure oil pump which injects oil directly into a bucket at the central part of the slideshow. This ensures presence of oil between the slide ring faces prior to startup. Next, oil for hydrodynamic lubrication is fed to the oil pans in front of the slideshows by means of separate low pressure pumps. During normal operation, the high pressure oil pumps are stopped after the mill has been started and the bearings are subsequently lubricated hydrodynamically. The slide ring itself provides the necessary oil film between the sliding surface by extracting oil from the oil pans. The high pressure pumps must be in constant operation when slow turning of mills is being carried out. The slideshows are hollow to ensure water cooling of the shows, which are barbited cast steel fabrications. On its lower side, each slideshow is fitted with a ball segment resting in a ball socket. This design will ensure that the barbited surface of the slideshow will always follow the surface of the slide ring. Movable slideshows. The ball socket is mounted on a thrust pad which is placed on rollers which in turn are placed on the bed plates. The interrelated positions of the thrust pad, rollers and bed plates are maintained by means of the spacers and the dry drives. Fixed slideshows. The rollers have been replaced by a distance block which together with the thrust pad is fixed to the bed plate with bolts. In fixed bearing, sturdy bronze guide rails and hence the entire mill. During thermal expansion of the mill, the bronze guide rails in movable slideshow guide the underlying bearing parts to follow the migration of the slide ring. During contraction of the mill subsequent to shutdown, all bearing parts are enclosed in an oil and dust tight guard. On both sides, the guard is provided with a combined rubber lip and felt seal to ensure the sealing efficiency. Spring-loaded oil scrapers which scrap the oil back to the oil sump. They are fitted in order to minimize the oil flow to the sealing areas. Bearing contact with the slide ring to be checked. Mark the bearings as inlet, outlet, left hand or right hand based on high pressure oil pole position, facing center lines of mill and fixed bearing position as per drawing. Loosely fit the guide rails on the bearings. Open a small portion of the slide ring backing on top of the slide ring. Apply a thin layer of Persian blue on top of the slide ring. Clean the bearings, especially in high pressure holes, etc. Lift the bearing upside and down, place it on top of the bearings. Don't change the direction of the bearing by positioning on top of the slide ring. Ensure that the marked bearings are used in proper position. Move the bearing back and forth 2 to 3 times to take the impression. Ensure that the load of the bearing is entirely on the slide ring and not on lifting tackles. Bearing checking. Contact between bearing and slide ring. The contact pattern load blue pattern should be evenly distributed across the entire bed. Ensure that the contact pattern is good around the oil packet for high pressure oil. If the contact level is deemed to be not satisfactory, light scraping must be executed to ensure an evenly distributed contact along a generatrix at the bottom of the slide shoe and only at this location. Bearing checking. End clearance between bearing and slide ring. Measure the end clearance of the slide shoes by means of feeler gauges. The clearance is measured at both ends of the slide shoe should be within the range of 0.05 to 0.1 mm, measured approximately to 25 mm inwards, that is just inside the approximate 20 mm wide chamfered ends of the slide shoe. The clearance must be checked across the entire width of the slide shoe. If the gap is insufficient, do slide scraping of the corresponding to approximately 20% of the length of the slide shoe at each end in order to attain the specified wedge-shaped clearance. Mounting of load-carrying pods of bearing. All load-carrying pods are provided with threaded holes for eye bolt to facilitate easy handling. Clean the base plate carefully of dust, oil, burns, etc. Movable slide shoe bearings. Mount the guide rails in the mill grooves on the base plate and torque tighten to the required value. Mount the rollers with the spares and truss pad and ball socket for the movable slide shoes. Ensure that the rollers are free to move in the axial direction of mill center. Fixed slide shoe bearings. Mount distance block and the truss pad with ball socket using bolt holes. Torque tighten the bolt to the required torque value. Mounting of slide shoes. Mount the ball segment on the slide shoes. Care must be taken in order not to damage the threaded pin. Smear the spherical face with molecule or recognized lubricant of similar type. The slide shoes must be oriented so that the end in which the connection for high pressure oil is fitted is facing inward towards the bearings with the ball segment must be positioned into the ball sockets. Subsequently, the slide shoe must be secured against tilting by fixing it with wires between eye bolts in the upper end of the slide shoe and the foundation. The slide shoes must be kept as close to the final position as possible. Mounting of mill on slide shoes. Proper tools and wire ropes are to be used while lifting the mill. Check the crane and rope capacity before lifting the mill to position. Lift the mill to position near the slide shoe. Bring the mill as close to the slide shoe as possible. Care must be taken to avoid any damage to the slide ring or slide shoe parts. Align the slide rings in line with the bearings and place the mill on temporary supports. Slowly lower the mill on top of the bearing by using hydraulic jacks. When the mill is close by, ensure that the rope wires which are used to secure the bearings are loosened. This is done to ensure that the bearing takes its own position on the ball and socket. Then lower the mill onto the bearings. Ensure that the final position of the inlet bearings are achieved. Fix the guide rails in position at inlet and outlet bearings.